The first time Sarah Martinez understood the complexity of human pain, she was just 7 years old. Her father, Miguel Martinez, would sit on the worn leather recliner in their small adobe-style home in Las Cruces, New Mexico, his eyes distant and haunted. War veterans carried their battles long after the fighting stopped, and Miguel was a testament to that unspoken truth. His service in the First Gulf War had left more than physical scars. Some wounds ran deeper than skin, carving invisible landscapes across memory and soul. Sarah would watch him carefully, learning early that healing wasn't just about bandages and medicine. It was about understanding the intricate map of human resilience. Her mother, Elena, was a different kind of warrior, a community nurse who dedicated her life to the underserved populations along the border. She moved through their small community like a beacon of hope. Where her father's experiences spoke of destruction, Alana's work demonstrated reconstruction. She treated everyone, migrant workers, local farmers, children from both sides of the border, with the same profound compassion. Mia, Elena would tell her, sorting through medical supplies in their modest kitchen, every person has a story worth listening to. Your job is never just to treat the wound, but to understand the person behind it. These words became Sarah's silent mantra. The Martinez household was a microcosm of contradiction. Miguel's military background suggested a strict, regimented life, but he was surprisingly gentle. His PTSD manifested not in anger, but in quiet withdrawal. Some evenings, he would sit in the backyard, meticulously tending to a small garden. Deliberate act of nurturing that seemed to contradict his military training. Sarah watched how her mother navigated his complex emotional landscape. Elena never pushed, never forced. She understood that healing was a delicate dance of patience and understanding. When Miguel would wake up from nightmares, she would simply sit beside him, her presence a silent anchor. Their local community was a tapestry of military families, agricultural workers, and border town dynamics. Las Cruces existed in a liminal space, part American dream, part complex cultural negotiation. Here, survival wasn't just a concept. It was a daily practice. The harsh New Mexico landscape, with its scorching summers and bitter winters, taught its inhabitants resilience in its most raw form. High school was where Sarah's path began to crystallize, while other teenagers dreamed of college scholarships. In sports or academic achievements, she was drawn to the intricate world of human biology and emergency response. Her biology teacher, Mr. Ramirez, recognized her exceptional ability to understand complex systems. "You don't just see the human body," he told her during a late afternoon study session. "You see the story within the systems." Sarah's academic prowess was matched by her physical discipline. Inspired by her father's military background and her mother's medical dedication, she trained rigorously. Track and field became her outlet, where she discovered her body's capacity to endure, to push beyond perceived limitations. The summer before her senior year changed everything. A devastating wildfire swept through the nearby mountain regions, and the local community was thrust into emergency response mode. Sarah watched as medical teams and emergency responders worked tirelessly, bridging gaps between chaos and recovery. She assisted local medical teams, her young hands steady, her mind absorbing every detail of emergency medical protocols. Working alongside seasoned professionals, she discovered something profound. True heroism wasn't about grand gestures, but about consistent, focused commitment to human survival. College presented a crossroads. Scholarships arrived, some for medical programs, others for emergency management. But something deeper was calling her. The military offered a unique intersection of her passions: medicine, service, and the opportunity to make a tangible difference. Her father was surprisingly supportive. "The military taught me about brotherhood," Miguel said during her recruitment process, But it also showed me the importance of healing. Not just bodies, but communities. Her mother's perspective was more nuanced. Elena understood the risks, the potential psychological toll, but she also recognized her daughter's calling. "Your path is not about following in our footsteps," she told Sarah. "It's about creating your own journey of service." The recruitment process was rigorous. Sarah's exceptional physical fitness, combined with her academic excellence, made her a prime candidate for combat medical training. She understood the risks her father's experiences were a constant, silent reminder of war's complexity. But Sarah saw something different. Where her father saw trauma, she saw potential for healing. Where others might see conflict, she envisioned an opportunity for compassionate intervention. Her decision wasn't just about personal ambition. It was a deliberate choice to be part of a system, to potentially transform it from within. She wanted to be more than a statistic, more than another narrative of military service. She wanted to be a bridge between destruction and reconstruction, between trauma and healing. The day she received her official military medical training acceptance was quiet. No grand celebrations, just a deep, profound understanding that her life was about to change dramatically. Her father's eyes held a mixture of pride and protective concern. Her mother's embrace was tight, filled with unspoken prayers and hopes. Sarah Martinez was ready, not just to serve, but to redefine what service could mean. Her journey was just beginning a path that would challenge every preconceived notion about heroism, about medicine, about the human capacity to transform in the most unexpected moments. Little did she know how profoundly she would be tested, how completely her understanding of service would be revolutionized in the mountains of a distant, unforgiving landscape. Forward Operating Base Cobra was nothing like the sterile medical training facilities Sarah had experienced during her military preparation. Nestled in a strategic mountain pass, the base was a living, breathing organism of tension, survival, and unspoken camaraderie that defied traditional understanding. The first week was a brutal education in survival's true meaning. Located in a remote region where the landscape seemed to actively resist human presence, FOB Cobra was more than a military installation. It was a delicate ecosystem of human endurance. Razor-sharp mountain winds carried dust that seemed to penetrate every possible barrier, coating equipment, skin, and spirit with a fine layer of persistent grit. Sarah's medical tent became more than a treatment facility. It was a sanctuary, a place where the harsh realities of combat met the delicate art of human preservation. Her initial assignment seemed routine, managing medical supplies, conducting routine health checks, preparing emergency response protocols. But she quickly learned that routine was a luxury rarely afforded in this environment. The SEAL team, assigned to her unit, was a complex machinery of human dynamics. Led by Commander Jack Reeves, a veteran with eyes that had witnessed more conflict than most history books, the team moved with a precision that bordered on telepathic communication. They were not just soldiers. They were a living, breathing unit where individual survival was intrinsically linked to collective preservation. Initial interactions were guarded. The SEALs had seen countless medical personnel come and go, each bringing their own approach, their own set of expectations. Sarah was different. Where others might have approached their role with detached professionalism, she brought an almost intuitive understanding of human vulnerability. Her first true test came unexpectedly during a routine equipment maintenance evening. Rodriguez, the team's communications specialist, had been struggling with a persistent cough that seemed more than a simple respiratory infection. While other medical personnel might have prescribed standard antibiotics, Sarah noticed subtle signs, a slight discoloration in his nail beds, a barely perceptible tremor in his hands. Her diagnosis was unconventional. Instead of immediate medication, she recommended a comprehensive blood panel and dietary adjustment. The other medical staff thought she was overcomplicating a simple issue. But when the results came back, they revealed early signs of a rare autoimmune condition that could have been catastrophic if left undetected. Rodriguez wasn't just a patient. To her, he was a story, a life with intricate complexities. During his treatment, she learned about his family in Puerto Rico, his dreams of becoming an engineer, the complex web of hopes and fears that drove him to military service. This approach was her mother Alina's greatest lesson: see the person, not just the condition. The SEALs began to watch her differently. Commander Reeves, initially the most skeptical, started to recognize something unique in her approach. She wasn't just treating bodies. She was preserving potential, understanding that each soldier represented an entire universe of connections and possibilities. Night shifts became her period of deep learning. While others slept, Sarah would meticulously organize medical supplies, study regional medical challenges, and prepare for potential scenarios. The base's generator would hum a constant background melody, casting long shadows across her makeshift medical station. Her medical kit was more than a collection of supplies. It was a carefully curated arsenal of survival. Each item was selected not just for its medical utility, but for its potential in extreme scenarios. Bandages that could seal wounds in high altitude. Conditions, multi-purpose antibiotics that could combat various potential infections. Compact diagnostic tools that could provide critical information with minimal resources. The team's initial skepticism gradually transformed into respect. During a particularly challenging week, when a series of high-risk reconnaissance missions pushed the team to their absolute limits, Sarah's role became pivotal. Her ability to provide not just medical treatment, but psychological support became increasingly apparent. One memorable incident involved Marcus, the team's youngest member, who was struggling with the psychological toll of continuous high-stress missions. Where another medical professional might have seen a potential liability, Sarah saw a young man wrestling with the immense weight of military expectations. Their conversations happened in quiet moments, between missions, during equipment checks. In the brief windows of relative calm, she didn't offer platitudes or standard psychological rhetoric. Instead, she listened. Really listened. Understanding that sometimes survival was as much about mental resilience as physical endurance. The mountain base was a crucible of human potential. Every day tested the limits of human adaptability. Temperatures could swing dramatically from scorching heat during day missions to near-freezing temperatures at night. Equipment could fail, communication lines could go dark, and survival often depended on split-second decisions and unwavering trust. Sarah's medical tent became more than a treatment facility. It evolved into a psychological sanctuary, a place where the harsh mathematics of survival met the nuanced art of human connection. The SEALs, initially seeing her as just another medical staff member, began to understand that she represented something more profound, a bridge between the brutal realities of combat and the delicate preservation of human potential. Commander Reeves would later reflect that Sarah brought something unique to their unit, a perspective that transcended traditional military medical roles. She didn't just treat wounds. She understood the intricate ecosystem of human survival. As weeks turned into months, the lines between medical professional and integral team member blurred. Sarah Martinez was no longer an outsider. She had become a crucial component of their survival mechanism, a healer who understood that true medical care extended far beyond physical treatment. Little did she know how dramatically her understanding of service would be challenged in the coming weeks, how her role would transform from a medical professional to something far more complex and extraordinary. The Hindu Kush Mountains were a living, breathing entity of geological complexity and human history. Centuries of conflict had etched themselves into every rock, every narrow pass, every precarious ridge. These were not mere geographical formations, but a testament to survival, a landscape that had witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the clash of civilizations, and the relentless human struggle for territory. On the morning of the ambush, the environment seemed to hold its breath. The pre-dawn light crept slowly across the terrain, painting the rocky landscape in muted shades of gray and deep blue. Sarah's senses were heightened, a product of weeks of continuous high-alert deployment. Something felt different about this morning, a subtle tension that vibrated just beneath the surface of apparent calm. The SEAL team's movement was a choreographed dance of precision and discipline. Commander Jack Reeves led the patrol, his movements calculated and deliberate. Each team member maintained perfect spacing, their tactical awareness a living, breathing mechanism of survival. Sarah walked in, the middle of the formation, her medical pack a familiar weight against her spine, a constant reminder of her critical role. Tactical communication was minimal. Short, precise radio exchanges replaced lengthy conversations. Hand signals became their primary language, a silent dialogue of potential threats and strategic positioning. The terrain was unforgiving, a labyrinth of rocky outcroppings, narrow mountain passes, and potential ambush points that seemed designed by nature to challenge human movement. Rodriguez, the team's communications specialist, was particularly tense. Sarah had noticed his heightened alertness in the days leading up to this mission. During their last medical check, his blood pressure read slightly elevated, his hands showing a barely perceptible tremor. Experience had taught her that such signs often preceded significant operational stress. The first shot came without warning, a razor-sharp crack that split the mountain's silence like a thunderbolt. It wasn't just a sound, but a percussive wave that seemed to physically push against their bodies. The bullet struck a rocky outcropping near the point man, sending a spray of stone fragments into the air. What followed was not chaos, but a choreographed response born of countless hours of training. The SEAL team moved with a synchronicity that defied individual human limitation. Commander Reeves' voice was a calm, cutting instrument issuing commands that transformed potential panic into focused survival. Hostile positions, 3 o'clock, upper ridge. Rodriguez, maintain comms. Martinez, prepare for potential casualties. Sarah's medical training crystallized into pure, focused action. Her hands, usually gentle in their healing touch, now moved with a precision that anticipated damage before it occurred. Medical kit open, tourniquets prepared, trauma packages strategically positioned. She was no longer just a medical professional, but a critical component of the team's survival mechanism. The mountain seemed to come alive with hostile intent. Insurgent positions had been carefully selected, each firing point providing maximum coverage, minimal exposure. These were not random attackers, but tactically trained fighters who understood the terrain's nuanced geography as intimately as our. Their own breath. Incoming fire created a deadly symphony. Bullets struck rocks, sending fragments flying like deadly shrapnel. The sound was beyond mere noise. It was a physical force that seemed to compress the very air around them. Each impact told a story of potential destruction, of lives hanging in the most delicate balance. Marcus, the team's youngest member, took the first visible hit. A bullet found a small gap in his tactical gear, striking with surgical precision. Sarah was moving before the sound of the shot had fully registered. Her medical training transformed into something beyond professional protocol, a near-instinctive response that bridged years of training with immediate survival necessity. Gunshot wound, right side, potential lung involvement, she called out, her voice cutting through the firefight's percussion. Commander Reeves acknowledged with a sharp hand signal, continuing to coordinate the team's defensive response. The insurgents had chosen their ambush point with calculated brilliance. The mountain's geography became their primary weapon, Rocky. Outcroppings providing natural defensive positions, narrow passages limiting the SEAL team's mobility. This was not just an attack, but a carefully orchestrated attempt to maximize casualties while minimizing their own exposure. Sarah's world condensed into a series of precise moments. Treat the wound. Assess potential further damage. Prepare for evacuation. Her medical bag was no longer just a collection of supplies, but a lifeline that connected human survival with technological intervention. Rodriguez's communication became critical. Despite the incoming fire, he maintained a steady stream of tactical information: enemy positions, potential reinforcement routes, helicopter extraction possibilities. His voice remained calm, a testament to years of specialized training. Commander. Reeves moved like liquid metal, his body a perfect instrument of tactical response. Each movement was calculated, each decision a complex algorithm of survival potential. He understood that their survival depended not just on individual skill, but on their ability to function as a unified organism. The mountain watched, indifferent to human conflict. Centuries of similar battles had played out across its rocky terrain. Empires had risen and fallen. Civilizations had clashed, and still, the mountains remained silent witnesses to humanity's relentless struggle. As the firefight intensified, Sarah realized this was more than a military engagement. This was a moment that would define not just their survival, but their understanding of human potential. The line between medical professional and active participant had blurred completely. Her hands, usually instruments of healing, now represented something more complex. They were a bridge between destruction and preservation, between the brutal mathematics of conflict and the delicate art of human survival. Little did she know how dramatically this moment would transform her understanding of service, of survival, of the intricate dance between healing and protection. The mountain continued, its silent vigil, waiting to reveal the next chapter of their extraordinary journey. Time has a different texture in moments of extreme crisis. Seconds stretch into eternity. Milliseconds become universes of potential decision-making. For Sarah Martinez, the world had condensed into a razor-sharp moment of absolute clarity. Commander. Jack Reeves was more than a military leader. He was a living archive of combat experience, a man who had witnessed humanity's most extreme capacities for both destruction and survival. His hands bore the subtle map of countless missions, small scars, nearly invisible calluses, a topography of survival that spoke volumes about his journey. The team's designated marksman lay critically wounded. Blood pooled around his tactical gear, a crimson testament to the mission's brutal reality. Their primary long-range weapons specialist was down, creating a catastrophic vulnerability in their defensive positioning. The mountain's geography had transformed from neutral terrain to a deadly chessboard where each movement could mean survival or annihilation. Insurgent positions were strategically brilliant. They had chosen locations that maximized their tactical advantage: rocky outcroppings that provided near-perfect cover, angles that limited the SEAL team's potential counterattack. These were not random fighters, but tactically trained operatives who understood mountain warfare with surgical precision. Commander Reeves' decision-making process was instantaneous. Years of combat experience had transformed his cognitive processing into something beyond standard military training. Where others might see chaos, he saw potential: a complex algorithm of survival that considered every variable simultaneously. His eyes locked with Sarah's. It wasn't a mere glance, but a profound moment of human communication that transcended verbal language. In that split second, he saw beyond her medical insignia. He recognized something deeper: a steady hand, calculated eyes, an unwavering spirit that suggested potential far beyond her current role. The Barrett .70 caliber sniper rifle was more than a weapon. It was a precision instrument of survival, a technological marvel that represented the pinnacle of long-range tactical intervention. Weighing approximately 25 pounds, it was not just a tool, but an extension of human capability, a bridge between human intention and mechanical precision. Martinez, Reeves' voice cut through the firefight's cacophony. You're our solution. His hands, weathered by years of combat, transferred the massive rifle to Sarah with a movement that was both deliberate and almost tender. It was a moment of profound trust, a recognition that survival sometimes demands stepping beyond predefined roles. Sarah's medical training had always been about precision, understanding human anatomy, calculating medication dosages with microscopic accuracy, recognizing subtle physiological changes. These skills were not fundamentally different from what a skilled marksman required: precision, calculation, controlled response. The rifle felt simultaneously foreign and familiar in her hands. Its weight was substantial, a constant reminder of its deadly potential. But beneath that weight, Sarah felt something else, a strange sense of alignment, as if this moment had been quietly preparing itself throughout her entire journey. Commander Reeves began providing rapid, precise instructions. His communication was a masterclass in tactical brevity. Each word was carefully selected, each instruction a concentrated burst of critical information. Upper ridge, third outcropping. Notice the slight movement, not natural terrain variation. Potential spotter for their primary shooter. Your entry point is approximately 372 meters. Factor wind drift, minimal right side compensation. His voice was clinical, devoid of emotion. But beneath that professional exterior, something profound was happening. He was recognizing potential where others might see limitation. A medic transforming into a tactical asset was not just a strategic decision, but a fundamental reimagining of human capability. Sarah's mind processed the information with remarkable speed. Her medical training had always been about understanding complex systems, about recognizing patterns that others might miss. The human body, a battlefield, a tactical scenario, these were all intricate systems with their own internal logic. The scope became an extension of her perception. Where others might see a landscape, she saw a complex topographical map of potential and risk. Wind currents, geological formations, potential cover points, everything was data. Everything was information to be processed and understood. Rodriguez, still managing communications despite the intense firefight, provided additional tactical information. His voice remained steady, a testament to years of specialized training. Commander, thermal readings suggest multiple heat signatures clustered around the northern ridge. Potential coordinated positioning. The mountain itself seemed to hold its breath. Centuries of conflict had etched themselves into its rocky terrain. This was not just a contemporary battle, but another chapter in a long, complex narrative of human conflict. Sarah's hands, usually instruments of healing, now represented something more nuanced. They were a bridge between destruction and preservation, between the brutal mathematics of conflict and the delicate art of human survival. Commander Reeves watched her with a mixture of calculated assessment and something deeper, a recognition of human potential that transcended traditional military understanding. This was not just about filling a tactical gap. This was about witnessing a moment of extraordinary human transformation. Her first shot would be more than a tactical intervention. It would be a redefinition of her own understanding of service, of capability, of the intricate dance between healing and protection. The mountain continued its silent vigil, waiting to reveal the next chapter of their extraordinary journey. Sarah Martinez stood at the precipice of a moment that would forever alter her understanding of herself, of her role, of the complex landscape of human potential. In that moment, she was no longer just a medic. She was becoming something far more profound, a living testament to human adaptability, to the extraordinary capacity for transformation that exists within every individual. The human body is a masterpiece of intricate systems, each organ, each cell, a complex ecosystem of potential and limitation. Sarah Martinez had always understood this fundamental truth through her medical training. Now, with the Barrett .70 caliber rifle integrated into her perception, she discovered that the principles of human precision transcended the boundaries of healing and destruction. Her hands, which had spent countless hours performing delicate medical procedures, now gripped the massive rifle with an unexpected harmony. Suturing a wound and aligning a precision shot were not as different as one might imagine. Both required an intimate understanding of systems, of potential trajectories, of the most minute variables that could transform outcome. Commander Reeves watched her with a calculated intensity. His eyes were not just observing. They were analyzing, processing every microscopic movement, every subtle shift in her posture. Years of combat experience had transformed him into a living algorithm of VAV, human potential, and in this moment, Sarah Martinez was becoming an unexpected variable in that complex equation. Medical training was fundamentally about understanding patterns, recognizing the subtle signs of a developing condition, predicting potential complications, understanding how individual variables interact to create a holistic health landscape. These same skills now translated into an entirely different realm of human capability. The rifle's weight was no longer foreign. It had become an extension of her perception, a technological prosthetic that expanded her understanding of spatial relationships. Where a traditional marksman might see a target, Sarah saw a complex topographical system, wind currents, geological variations, potential environmental interactions. Her medical background provided unexpected advantages. Understanding human anatomy meant she could predict potential movement patterns. Knowing how the human body responds to stress, to fear, to the physiological cascade of combat, these were tactical advantages that went beyond traditional marksmanship. Rodriguez's voice continued to provide critical tactical information: thermal signatures clustering, potential coordinated movement on the northern ridge, wind speed approximately 7.3 meters per second, predominantly western drift. Each piece of information became another variable in her complex calculation. Sarah's mind worked not as a traditional shooter, but as a medical professional analyzing a living, breathing system. The mountain, the insurgent positions, the atmospheric conditions all became interconnected variables in a vast, dynamic equation. Commander Reeves' instructions became a form of linguistic precision. Third outcropping. Slight movement suggests coordinated positioning. Your entry point is 372 meters. Factor wind drift. Minimal right side compensation. Her first shots would be more than tactical interventions. They would be a profound statement of human adaptability, of the extraordinary capacity for transformation that exists within individual potential. A medical kit that usually contained instruments of healing now sat beside a weapon of extraordinary precision. It was a powerful metaphor. The tools of preservation positioned alongside the tools of potential destruction. Sarah understood, perhaps more profoundly than anyone else in that moment, that the line between healing and protection was far more nuanced than most would acknowledge. Her breath became a controlled mechanism. In medical emergencies, controlled. Breathing was critical. It steadied hands during complex procedures, maintained focus during high-stress interventions. Now, that same breathing technique became a tactical asset, a way of maintaining absolute precision in a chaotic environment. The scope became an extension of her visual perception. Where others might see a landscape, she saw a complex topographical map of potential and risk. Wind currents transformed from environmental conditions to calculable variables. Geological formations became potential cover points, strategic considerations. Marcus, recovering from his earlier wound, watched her with a mixture of awe and disbelief. The young SEAL team member had seen countless combat scenarios, but this transformation defied traditional understanding. A medic becoming a precision shooter was not just unexpected, it was a fundamental reimagining of human potential. Sarah's mind operated at a level of precision that transcended traditional tactical training. Her medical background had taught her to see systems, to understand the intricate interactions of complex variables. A human body was not just an anatomical structure, but a dynamic, interactive ecosystem. The same principle now applied to her understanding of the combat environment. Commander Reeves' voice continued to provide critical guidance, but it was becoming less necessary. Sarah was no longer simply following instructions. She was interpreting the tactical landscape with an almost intuitive understanding. Her medical training had prepared her for this moment in ways no traditional marksmanship course could have anticipated. The mountain continued its silent vigil, a geological witness to human complexity. Centuries of conflict had etched themselves into its rocky terrain, and now it was witnessing another extraordinary moment of human transformation. Rodriguez's communication continued, a steady stream of tactical information that became another layer of Sarah's complex perceptual system. Multiple heat signatures detected. Potential coordinated movement suggests advanced tactical positioning. Her fingers, usually instruments of healing, now represented something more nuanced. They were a bridge between preservation and strategic intervention, between the delicate art of medical care and the complex mathematics of survival. The Barrett rifle was more than a weapon. It had become a technological extension of her medical training, a precision instrument that allowed her to protect life by understanding the most intricate variables of human conflict. In that moment, Sarah Martinez was no longer just a medic. She was becoming a living testament to human adaptability, to the extraordinary capacity for transformation that exists within every individual. Her medical training had prepared her, not just to heal, but to understand the most complex systems of human survival. The mountain waited, silent and patient, ready to reveal the next chapter of their extraordinary journey. As her finger began to apply the slightest pressure on the trigger, Sarah understood that this moment was about more than survival. It was about redefining the very boundaries of human potential, about discovering that true capability lies not in predefined roles, but in the ability to adapt, to transform, to see beyond the limitations others would impose. Tactical warfare is a language of its own, a complex dialogue written in the grammar of physics, geography, and human potential. The insurgents believed they had mastered this language, had written the perfect tactical narrative on the canvas of the Hindu Kush Mountains. They were wrong. Sarah Martinez was not just shooting. She was translating, converting tactical data into a precise, devastating dialogue of survival. Each shot was a carefully constructed sentence, a response to the complex narrative of conflict that surrounded her. The mountain's geography had been the insurgents' primary weapon. Rocky outcroppings provided natural defensive positions. Narrow passages limited mobility, and years of local knowledge suggested an insurmountable tactical advantage. They had studied this terrain for generations, passed down knowledge of every potential cover point, every strategic approach. But they had not anticipated Sarah Martinez. Her first shot was more than a simple tactical intervention. It was a complete reimagining of the battlefield's linguistic structure. The round found its mark with a precision that defied conventional understanding, not just hitting a target, but dismantling an entire tactical positioning with surgical accuracy. Commander Reeves watched with a mixture of professional assessment and something deeper, a recognition of extraordinary human potential. His years of combat experience had taught him to recognize moments of profound transformation. This was one of those moments. Rodriguez continued to provide tactical information, his communication a steady stream of critical data. Multiple heat signatures disrupted. Northern Ridge defensive position compromised. Significant tactical shift in progress. The insurgents' initial strategy had been brilliantly conceived. Multiple firing positions, carefully selected to provide maximum coverage with minimal exposure. They understood mountain warfare as an warfare, intricate dance of geography and human positioning. Each location was chosen not just for its immediate tactical advantage, but for its potential to create cascading strategic opportunities. Sarah's perception had transformed the battlefield into a complex biological system. Where traditional marksmen saw targets, she saw interconnected variables, potential movement patterns, environmental interactions, the subtle human ecosystems of tactical positioning. Her medical training provided unexpected advantages. Understanding human anatomy meant predicting movement patterns. Knowing how the human body responds to stress, to fear, these were tactical insights that went beyond traditional marksmanship. The Barrett .70 caliber rifle was no longer just a weapon. It had become a precision instrument of strategic intervention, a technological extension of her extraordinary perception. Each shot was a carefully constructed response, a way of rewriting the tactical narrative that the insurgents believed they controlled. Marcus, still recovering from his earlier wound, watched with a mixture of awe and disbelief. The young SEAL team member had witnessed countless combat scenarios, but this transformation defied traditional understanding. A medic becoming a precision shooter was more than unexpected. It was a fundamental reimagining of human potential. The mountain seemed to hold its breath. Geological formations that had witnessed centuries of conflict now became silent witnesses to another extraordinary moment of human adaptation. Rocky outcroppings that had provided cover for generations of fighters now revealed their vulnerabilities under Sarah's extraordinary perception. Commander Reeves' voice provided minimal guidance now. Sarah had transcended traditional tactical instruction, interpreting the battlefield with an almost intuitive understanding. Her shots were not just precise, they were strategically transformative, dismantling entire defensive structures with surgical accuracy. Each round told a story. The first shot disrupted a primary firing position, forcing a cascading recalculation of tactical positioning. The second eliminated a potential communication node, creating strategic isolation. The third shot was almost philosophical, a precise intervention that suggested the fundamental vulnerability of their entire defensive strategy. The insurgents' initial confidence began to crumble. Their carefully constructed tactical narrative was being systematically dismantled by someone who viewed the battlefield not as a traditional combat zone, but as a complex, living system. Rodriguez's communication reflected the shifting tactical landscape. Significant strategic disruption detected. Multiple defensive positions compromised. Tactical advantage shifting dramatically. Sarah's hands remained steady, her breathing controlled. In medical emergencies, such precision was critical, maintaining focus during complex interventions. Understanding the most minute variables, they could transform an outcome. Now, those same skills were being applied to an entirely different form of intervention. The medical kit that usually contained instruments of healing now sat beside her, a powerful metaphor of the thin line between preservation and strategic protection. She understood, perhaps more profoundly than anyone else, that survival sometimes demanded extraordinary transformations. Her perception had turned the mountain into a living, breathing tactical ecosystem. Wind currents became calculable variables. Geological formations transformed into strategic considerations. The human elements, the insurgents' positioning, their potential movement patterns became readable, predictable systems. Commander Reeves allowed himself the slightest ghost of a smile. Decades of combat experience had taught him to recognize extraordinary moments of human potential. This was beyond tactical success. This was a fundamental reimagining of human capability. The battle was shifting. What had begun as an ambush was transforming into a strategic defeat for the insurgents. Their carefully constructed tactical narrative was being systematically dismantled, not through brute force, but through an extraordinary understanding of systemic vulnerabilities. Sarah Martinez was no longer just a medic. She was a living testament to human adaptability, to the extraordinary capacity for transformation that exists within individual potential. Her medical training had prepared her not just to heal, but to understand the most complex systems of human survival. The mountain continued its silent vigil, a geological witness to another extraordinary moment of human complexity. Centuries of conflict had etched themselves into its rocky terrain, and now it was witnessing a transformation that defied traditional understanding of human potential. As the tactical landscape continued to shift, Sarah understood that this moment was about more than survival. It was about redefining the very boundaries of human capability, about discovering that true potential lies not in predefined roles, but in the ability to see beyond apparent limitations. The first light of dawn began to break, casting long shadows across the mountain's complex terrain. The battle was not just being won, it was being fundamentally reimagined. Silence has its own language. In the aftermath of intense combat, it speaks volumes, a complex dialect of survival, loss, and extraordinary human potential. The mountain, which had been a raging battlefield moments ago, now held its breath, bearing witness to a transformation that defied conventional understanding. The tactical landscape was a testament to Sarah Martinez's extraordinary intervention. Spent cartridges glinted like fallen stars, their brass surfaces reflecting the first light of dawn. The rocky terrain, which had moments ago been a deadly chessboard of human conflict, now told a story of survival against overwhelming odds. Commander Jack Reeves moved across the terrain with a deliberate, calculated grace. His experienced eyes cataloged every detail, not just the physical aftermath, but the profound psychological landscape that had been transformed during the mission. What had begun as a standard reconnaissance had become something far more extraordinary. Sarah's medical training reasserted itself in the mission's aftermath. Her hands, which had moments ago wielded a precision rifle, now returned to their primary purpose: healing, assessing, preserving life. Marcus, still recovering from his earlier wound, received her professional attention with a mixture of gratitude and newfound respect. Rodriguez, the team's communications specialist, began the initial tactical assessment. His voice, typically a steady stream of professional reporting, carried an undercurrent of something deeper, a sense of profound respect, of having witnessed something truly extraordinary. Multiple insurgent positions neutralized, he reported, his fingers moving across communication equipment. Tactical advantage completely reversed. 0 SEAL team casualties. The military's documentation of extraordinary moments is a precise, almost clinical process. Commendation reports are constructed like architectural blueprints, each detail carefully measured, each observation meticulously documented. But some experiences defy such clinical categorization. Commander Reeves understood this implicitly. His recommendation for Sarah's commendation would be more than a standard military document. It would be a testament to human potential, a narrative that challenged fundamental understanding of military roles and individual capability. The medical tent, which had always been Sarah's primary domain, now felt different. A space that had been a sanctuary of healing had become a witness to an extraordinary transformation. Her medical supplies sat alongside the Barrett rifle, a powerful metaphor of the thin line between preservation and protection. Military culture is a complex ecosystem of tradition, hierarchy, and unspoken understanding. Recognition is not just about individual achievement, but about challenging and expanding collective perception. Sarah's actions had done precisely that. She had rewritten the narrative of what a combat medic could represent. Marcus approached her during a quiet moment of post-mission assessment. "You saved our lives," he said, his voice carrying the weight of profound experience. "Not just with the rifle, with everything. The commendation process began immediately. Each member of the SEAL team provided detailed statements. Their accounts were consistent, yet individually nuanced, a collective narrative that spoke to Sarah's extraordinary intervention. Commander Reeves' official statement was a masterpiece of military documentation and profound human recognition. Medical specialist Sarah Martinez demonstrated extraordinary tactical capability during a high-risk engagement. Beyond her standard medical responsibilities, she provided critical intervention that directly contributed to mission success and team survival. Her actions represent the highest standard of military service adaptability, precision, and unwavering commitment to team survival. The military bureaucracy is not known for emotional language. Yet, in the margins of these official documents, something profound was being acknowledged. A fundamental reimagining of human potential. Sarah's medical records would be updated. Her personnel file would reflect not just her medical qualifications, but her demonstrated tactical capabilities. But numbers and official documentation could never fully capture the extraordinary nature of her intervention. Rodriguez discovered something interesting during his post-mission analysis. Statistical modeling of the engagement suggested that, without Sarah's intervention, the mission would have resulted in significant SEAL team casualties. Her actions had transformed a potential disaster into a strategic success. The mountain continued its silent vigil. Geological formations that had witnessed countless conflicts now held the memory of another extraordinary human moment. The rocks, the wind, the terrain itself seemed to whisper a story of unexpected transformation. Media reports would later describe the mission in carefully constructed narratives. Medic turns tactical asset, some headlines would read. But such descriptions would always fall short of the profound human experience that had transpired. Marcus, still recovering, began documenting his perspective. His written account would become part of the mission's official record, young SEAL's testament to witnessing extraordinary human potential. It wasn't just about the shots, he wrote. It was about seeing someone completely redefine what's possible in a moment of absolute crisis. The military's recognition went beyond standard commendations. Sarah would be invited to specialized training programs, her unique approach studied as a potential model for future tactical training. Her medical background was now seen not as a limitation, but as a critical advantage in tactical scenarios. Commander Reeves understood something profound. This was more than a successful mission. This was evidence of the extraordinary human capacity for adaptation, for transcending predefined roles and expectations. During a quiet moment, away from official documentation and tactical assessments, Sarah reflected on the transformation. Her hands, which had spent years dedicated to healing, had now demonstrated an extraordinary capacity for protection in its most immediate form. The medical kit and the Barrett rifle sat side by side, no longer symbols of contradiction, but a powerful representation of the complex spectrum of human capability. As the base prepared for the next phase of operations, a fundamental shift had occurred, not just in tactical understanding, but in the collective perception of individual potential. Sarah Martinez had become more than a medical specialist. She had become a living testament to the extraordinary adaptability of human potential. The mountain watched, silent and patient, holding the memory of another extraordinary moment in the complex narrative of human survival. Transformation is not a singular moment, but a continuous journey of becoming. For Sarah Martinez, the mountain ambush was not an endpoint, but a profound turning point that would reshape her understanding of service, of healing, of human potential. The military's specialized training program was unlike anything she had experienced. Where traditional tactical training focused on rigid methodologies, this new program recognized the extraordinary potential of interdisciplinary approach. Sarah found herself in a unique ecosystem of learning surrounded by individuals who challenged every conventional understanding of military roles and capabilities. Her medical background became her most extraordinary asset. While other candidates approached tactical training with a linear perspective, Sarah saw each challenge as a complex, interconnected system. Marksmanship became more than mechanical precision. It was an extension of her understanding of human physiology, of movement, of potential. The training facility was nestled in a remote mountain region that echoed the terrain of her transformative mission. Each day was a deliberate deconstruction of traditional boundaries. Medical professionals trained alongside special operations personnel, creating a unique hybrid approach to military service that challenged fundamental institutional understanding. Commander Jack Reeves became more than a commanding officer. He was a mentor, a guide who recognized the extraordinary potential that existed beyond traditional military categorizations. Their conversations were not just about tactical training, but about the broader philosophy of human capability. "You don't just see a target," he would tell her during advanced training sessions. "You see a complete ecological system of potential and limitation." Sarah's fellow trainees viewed her with a mixture of respect and curiosity. She was an anomaly, a medical professional who had demonstrated extraordinary tactical capability, someone who moved between healing and protection with an almost intuitive grace. The psychological evaluation process was comprehensive. Military psychologists approached her case as more than a standard assessment. She became a subject of profound study, a living example of human adaptability, of the extraordinary potential that exists when traditional boundaries are challenged. Her medical bag and her tactical equipment now existed in a harmonious ecosystem. No longer were they contradictory tools, but complementary extensions of a comprehensive approach to human preservation. Healing and protection were no longer opposing concepts, but interconnected strategies of survival. Rodriguez, who had witnessed her extraordinary intervention during the mountain mission, became a close colleague in the advanced training program. His communication background provided a unique perspective on interdisciplinary military approaches. "It's not about being a medic or a shooter," he would explain to younger recruits. "It's about understanding the complete human potential in any given scenario." The military's documentation of her journey became a case study. Academic papers began to explore the potential of cross-disciplinary military training, with Sarah's experience at the center of these groundbreaking discussions. She was no longer just an individual soldier, but a living testament to a new approach to military service. Her family watched her transformation with a mixture of pride and profound understanding. Miguel, her father, saw echoes of his own military journey, but recognized that his daughter was creating something entirely new. Elena, her mother, understood the deeper philosophical implications of her daughter's extraordinary path. Training scenarios became her new laboratory of human potential. Where traditional approaches saw limitations, Sarah saw opportunities for extraordinary intervention. Medical knowledge became a tactical advantage, and tactical training became a deeper understanding of human preservation. The Barrett rifle, which had been her instrument of transformation during the mountain mission, now sat in a place of honor. It was not a trophy, but a powerful reminder of a moment that had redefined her understanding of service. Specialized missions began to recognize her unique capabilities. She was no longer confined to traditional medical roles or standard tactical assignments. Instead, she became part of a new breed of military professionals, individuals who could move fluidly between healing and protection, between preservation and strategic intervention. Commander Reeves' mentorship was subtle but profound. He understood that her transformation was not about creating a weapon, but about expanding the understanding of human potential. Their conversations explored the philosophical boundaries of military service, of human capability. "You're not just changing a role," he would tell her. "You're demonstrating that human potential is far more fluid than any institutional framework can contain." Sarah's approach began to influence broader military training methodologies. The rigid distinctions between medical personnel and tactical operators started to blur. Her experience suggested a more holistic approach to military service, one that recognized the extraordinary potential that exists when traditional boundaries are challenged. Psychological research began to explore her unique cognitive approach. How did a medical professional develop such extraordinary tactical capabilities? What neural pathways allowed for such profound adaptability? She became a subject of scientific study, a living example of human potential. Her younger colleagues saw her as more than a role model. She was a demonstration of the extraordinary capacity for human transformation. The stories of her mountain mission became a form of institutional mythology, a narrative that challenged fundamental understanding of individual capability. The medical community began to recognize the potential of her approach. Medical training started to explore more comprehensive approaches to understanding human potential, drawing inspiration from her extraordinary journey. Sarah understood that her transformation was not about becoming something different, but about fully embracing the complete spectrum of human potential. Healing and protection were not opposing concepts, but interconnected strategies of human preservation. Her medical bag and tactical equipment became a powerful metaphor. No longer were they separate tools, but complementary extensions of a comprehensive approach to human survival. Each mission became an opportunity to demonstrate the extraordinary potential that exists when traditional boundaries are challenged. The mountain that had witnessed her transformation continued to be a silent guardian of her journey. Geological formations that had seen countless human stories now held the memory of her extraordinary moment of adaptation. As years passed, Sarah Martinez became more than an individual soldier. She was a living testament to the extraordinary human capacity for transformation, a demonstration that true potential exists beyond predefined roles and institutional frameworks. Her journey was not about becoming a different person, but about fully embracing the complete spectrum of human capability. Healing and protection, once seen as contradictory concepts, now represented a unified approach to human preservation. The whispers of her extraordinary journey would continue to inspire, to challenge, to expand the understanding of what is possible when human potential is fully embraced.